Now, when you're in the studio, you guys are recording. Is there anything about with the 12 inch or the 7 inch that stands out to you? Like, were there any like stories, like moments where you're just like, oh wow, I can't believe that that happened, or oh, I'm surprised that that worked, or what am I gonna like? You as the bass player having to come up with a part and you maybe not knowing what to do, but you had to do it because you guys were recording in that moment.
Uh, I was going to say also one of the things in the studio was uh, the pressure of time and money. So again, that kind of kept us on track. At least kept me on track and trying to make sure do it right the first time. So there was like an incredible pressure. So
Where was that funding coming for like the 12 inch? Because I mean, because that's pretty ambitious also to start with a 12 inch. Because the way that I always thought of it is, oh, you start with a 7 inch and then like you know what I mean, it builds and builds.
right, and I think that was the plan. And all of a sudden, the band, as I was entering the band, they came to the realization like, man, we've got a lot of stuff, and it's pretty good, so we could, theoretically pull off, a full size, album. And I think that was the motivation to switch from just a 7 inch to here's an album that has more time available on it. The funding was from the band. Um, Everybody contributed, I think, as far as I could remember. The distribution and the creation of it was in conjunction with New Beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know, because I think that might have been the fifth or fourth release on New Beginning. So they had some stuff under their belt, and they might have had some sort of income from those items. I don't know. That was Billy's thing.
What was the high point for you with Half Off? Like, I guess from a show perspective, where like you played and just a feeling of, I don't know, satisfaction or just a feeling of, hey, you know what? Like, this thing is bigger, bigger than me or bigger than just this scene or I mean I don't know that I'm wording that correctly, but I just know I remember when Vadim got when Vadim played in Ice and we were talking to him and he would just throw out random shows like, oh, I remember when we played, I think you guys played the Stone Pony or something with Youth of Today or something. He's naming all these bands and I'm just sitting like, oh my gosh, and like, and now you're playing in Ice, like, come on, like, but my, yeah, back to my question. What for you personally was like a really high point of being in Half Off?
I don't know why, but I'm thinking of just like the humorous things that happened. And there were a lot of great shows, but there was some funny stuff that I always remember that. And we kind of used Half Off as a vehicle to project our humor
That was
on
always the impression that I got. It wasn't so inherent in Haywire, but with Half Off, I really felt that these were like this was like almost like a Saturday Night Live kind of thing of like you have this brain trust of people that look at the world a certain way, and this is being expressed in this music.
yeah, yeah. And I was guilty of just like not keeping my mouth shut, or just like, yeah, do this, do that. And I mean, one night we're playing at Fenders, and it might have been the night that Scream was the headliner, and Uniform Choice was on the bill, and the lights are all out and it's dark. And just for kicks, um, I start playing the bass intro from the Uniform Choice song, Uniform Choice. And they are, at this time, their album has come out, and they are the most popular band in the area. Everybody knows who they are now. And we hear all these kids like run to the stage and they're yelling and screaming. And of course, Vadim and Jim, they know all the songs of every band and they can cover them perfectly. So we start doing it, and all of a sudden, like the lights come on super bright, and everybody stops, and Billy's just like, it's us. And we just start going into like our stuff. The stuff like that is what sticks in my head, kind of. But there were a lot of accomplishments, a lot of good shows. That a little thrash band that kind of generic grew up into a much more developed and precise and capable band of doing a lot of stuff. I always think, like, if Half Off would have kept going the way Jim was writing and the way he was able to just bring in all this stuff from various sources, I think we almost would have probably kind of ended up like Articles of Faith.
Wow.
Just like on that, like that really, really intense, thought out, music. I always think that, because he was very, very capable and worked really hard at playing guitar and did a lot of great stuff.
And the band doesn't continue. Could you kind of go into that for maybe people that maybe don't know the whole story? I'm loving all this. You are like, because I'm saying you're telling me stuff that, like, and I've spoken to Drew Charleston a gazillion times. He's never told me that story. I love that I know that story now. So could you talk about sort of the band's demise? Because that's another thing in hardcore is, and I understand it and I don't understand, but it always seemed like bands start, they go, and then they reach a point, and then they just done. And I was just wondering what, could you go into the band's, dissolution?
So the band is planning a tour, like across the U.S., and I'm coming to the realization, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do this. And like I really like labored over that, and finally,
was that a financial thing, or was that just
it was a home life thing,
right?
I kept trying. I was living at home, and I'm telling my parents, yeah, well, we're going to go on tour, and every day I was just there was just a barrage of no, you're not, don't, you can't, you're diabetic, it's not going to work, and just every day it was just like this continual barrage. And so I was like, you know what, I really felt like if I went, there was going to be like a life change, and I don't know if I would have been able to pull that off successfully. So so I backed out of the band. I offered up Sterling Wilson as a replacement. Played bass, great player, kind of looked like me, shouldn't be a problem, but the band decided not to. So that was, that was terrible, and that was kind of, we played one last show. I think it was at the Anti-Club,
Was the feeling kind of, well, you know what, if we can't go on tour, if we're not going to go on tour, we're not going to do it without John?
No, I don't think it was, so much like, oh gosh, we really want you to be there, because everybody was just, they were upset, that I left. And I think they were just kind of like, probably just disheartened, that that happened, and they worked so hard, and then they just felt like they didn't want to, you know, go forward.